Mamagyanathmirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshuruminitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Gauraprastaya Vitarshrimad Bhakti Pramadaya Purigoswami Namine Divya Gyana Pradatracha Prabhave Jama Jamani Gyana Vairagya Dhaya Shastra Siddhanta Samvine Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Vitarshrimad Bhakti Vanta Samiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Samyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shvasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakalpatarvascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanavyo Vaishnavavyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. Muchas gracias por I'm speaking Spanish now. Thank you very much for being connected. Now we can speak in Spanish. Uh, yeah, we have the mantra for, but before that, because today is the appearance day of Lord Balaram, I just wanted to make a short commentary, because Vyasadev took birth on purpose to register whatever Lord Krishna was to do. So it's not that he comes every time. And although there are several Vyasadevs, as we explained it before, for recording Krishna's pastimes, it was required actually an avatar of Krishna, because it's not just a regular secretary you require, you need some very special. So this Vyasadev, Krishnadaipayan Vyasadev, is one amongst thousands. And also he's related with Lord Krishna, not only because ontologically he comes to prepare Krishna's appearance, and actually he compiled all these Vedic literatures and even the Mahabharata. Mahabharata along with Ramayana are called itihasas, so meaning history. So after he just finished Mahabharata, then he decided, he already wrote the Upanishads, he already wrote the Puranas. So this was already written by Vyasadev. And then his Gurudev told him to record Krishna's pastimes. Then he started the task of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the topmost Vedic literature. Now, in the process of narrating all these events, it happens that because Vyasadeva was so connected with the royal family, that sometimes he was invoked and called to the court. And some things, in some things he even gave his opinion. Now, although Lord Balaram is an expansion of Krishna himself, he plays a different role. And part of that is that he tends to disagree with Krishna. He's very kind to Krishna, of course, but in previous incarnation, he was younger brother. When the Lord came as Rama, Balaram came as Lakshman. But because he received some orders from Lord Rama that he didn't like, for example, to send to exile to Sita Devi, broke his heart. So he said, no, please, next time I'll be your elder brother. So this won't happen again, shouldn't. So in that way, when Lord Krishna came, So Lord Balaram appeared before. And not only in some things he disagreed, but actually he challenged sometimes Krishna's decision in order to show that Krishna is the supreme after all. Even although he came as older, and even he said these things will be done this way, he wanted Krishna to break that and show that after all circumstances, Krishna is still the supreme personality of Godhead. For example, in this rivalry between Pandavas and Kurus, of course, Krishna and Balaram were very close to the Pandavas. But Duryodhan, the elder son of Dhritarashtra, became disciple of Balaram. And so Balaram was teaching Duryodhan ways to defeat Bhima. So when the battle of Kurukshetra was to take place, and Krishna decided to, not to directly participate, Lord Balaram was not happy because his disciple would be facing, a fight with Bhima. And he knew that Krishna would like to help Bhima. So he said, better let me be outside. So he decided to do pilgrimage during the Battle of Kurukshetra, not to be there. Because he plays like being hot-tempered. Even once he was playing chess with Rukmi, the brother of Rukmini, but he didn't like some moves that were not, proper, would say legal moves in chess. So what he did, he took his mace and broke the head in two of Rukma. So that's the character of Balaram. And also once when he called Yamuna to come, he used his plow to make a river to bring Yamuna where he was because she was hesitating for other reasons, also transcendental reasons. And even when Krishna was planning that Arjun be married to their sister Subhadra, so Balaram was in favor to marry her to a demon, Shishupal. Why? Because he wanted to show that even though he favored that was kind of external behavior, internally he knew, oh, Krishna is going to do something. So that's why Krishna told Arjun, you better kidnap Subhadra because otherwise this thing won't go in a good direction. So now we're celebrating his appearance, and we have to know that he's the original guru, Akanda Guru Tattva. So taking shelter, even if one is as mean as Duryodhan, Balaram is very compassionate. So he was actually, in favor of Duryodhan winning over Bhima just because was his disciple. So in that sense, we take shelter on Lord Balaram that then came in the pastimes of Gauranga as Nityananda. And as you were recalling, Nitai Gunamani, when this same Balaram comes as Nityananda, is so generous, it's unbelievable. So it's giving freely everything. So you see, in different pastimes, the same personality that's the brother of Krishna acts differently. And in the case of Lord Nityananda, that's actually what we in-depth worship. There's even a pastime where there was some offering being made to Krishna and Balaram, and then Nityananda and Gauranga came in the temple and took the offering. Said, "No, this is our time now." They took the offering. They took the. So, in one sense, of course, we remember, we love, the pastimes of Lord Balaram, but the real worship we do is the worship to Nityananda Prabhu and Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It's still within the scope then of Vyasadeva activity, because Vyasadeva then appeared, although he's still here, he empowered Brindavan Das Thakur, that's kind of his incarnation, to write down Chaitanya Bhagavat and then to register, Nityananda and Chaitanya pastimes. And also, there is, a book, Nityananda Charitamrit. So this character of Nityananda is not only welcoming, as Balaram was welcoming even Duryodhan, but Nityananda says, whomever you are, I won't ask who you are. I won't ask what's your background. I won't ask any of those questions. He said, if, and then there's this famous song, Baja Goranga, Kaha Goranga, Laha Goranger Namare, Ye Jana, Goranga Baje, Sehoy Amar Pranare. He says, hey, you, worship Goranga, no? Chant the names of Goranga. Whomever does so becomes my life and soul. So I give myself to that person. And that clears also another road, because some people say, oh, if Nityananda is the most merciful, why do we worship Gauranga? Because Nityananda said, if you worship Gauranga, I will give you my mercy. Also, some people say, oh, if Radha, is our goal, why do we still chant Hare Krishna and why do we worship Krishna? Because by worshiping Krishna, we make Radha happy. So it's not that, oh, forget everything, just Radha. No, Radha will not accept. Will be just a fake effort. Radha is happy when we worship Krishna. And Krishna is happy when we worship Radha. So they play. So we just have to follow, whatever is given to us by the great acharyas. Okay, so that being said, we glorify Lord Balaram Ki Jai, his transcendental appearance, and we glorify at the same time Lakshman and mostly Lord Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai.
Yeah.
If there is some comment or question to this part, you're so welcome to make it.
No.
Okay. So now we're going to study Sri Isopanisad, Mantra 4. Anejadekam manaso javiyo nainadevapnuvam purvamarshad tadavato nyannatyati tishtat tasmimapo matarishvadadati. Translation. Does any of you want to read, please?
The personality of Godhead, although fixed in his abode, is more swift than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he has control over those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence.
Okay, and now the purport, maybe some Someone else?
I can read. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I'm still learning to navigate Zoom again. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Yay.
The Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead, is not knowledgeable even to the greatest philosopher through mental speculation. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the non-devotee philosopher who can travel at the speed of the mind or the velocity of the air, and who can travel in space for hundreds of years, will find the Absolute still far, far away from him. As described in the Upanishads, the Absolute Personality of Godhead has his transcendental abode known as Krishna Loka, where he remains engaged in his pastimes. But by his inconceivable potency, he can simultaneously reach every part of the creative energy. In the Vishnu Purana, this potency is compared with the light and heat of fire. The fire can distribute its light and heat from one place and similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed upon up in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies everywhere. Such energies are innumerable, but principally they are classified into three: the internal potency, the marginal potency, and the external potency. In each and every one of them, there are hundreds and millions of subheadings. The dominating demigods, who are empowered to have control over the administration of natural phenomena, such as the air, light, rain, etc., are all classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. The living beings, including humans, are also products of the marginal potency of the Lord. The material world is the creation of the external potency of the Lord, and the spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency. The different energies of the Supreme Lord are represented everywhere by his different potencies. Although there is no difference between him and his energies, still one should not wrongly conclude that the Supreme Lord, being thus distributed everywhere, has his personal existence solely in the impersonal Brahman. Men are accustomed to reach conclusions conclusions only according to their own capacity to understand. But the Supreme Lord is not subject to our limited capacity to understand him. It is for this reason that the Upanishads warn us no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that no one, not even great rishis and suras, can know him. So what is there to say of the asuras, who are not even qualified to understand the ways of the Lord? All these words mentioned in Mantra 4 of Sri Isopanisad directly suggest very clearly that the absolute truth is ultimately the absolute person. Otherwise, there would have been no necessity of mentioning so many varied things in support of his personal features. Individual parts and parcels of the potencies of the Lord, although having all symptoms of the Lord himself, have limited spheres of activities and therefore are all limited. The parts and parcels are never equal to the whole. Therefore, the parts and parcels cannot appreciate the full potency of the Lord. Foolish and ignorant living beings, who are parts and parcels of the Lord, under the influence of the material energy, try to make a conjecture on the transcendental position of the Lord. Sri Isopanisad warns them not to make any mental speculation about the identity of the Lord. Try to know the transcendence from the superior source of the Vedas, which is already in knowledge of the transcendence. Every part of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act, and forgetfulness by that part of his particular activities is called Maya, illusion. Sri Isopanisad has therefore, from the very beginning, warned us that we should be very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This, however, does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative of his own. Because he is part and parcel of the Lord, he must have the initiative of the Lord as well. Proper use of one's inattentive, active nature with intelligence, initiative, active nature with intelligence to understand that everything is but the potency of the Lord can lead one to the revival of his original consciousness, which was lost on account of association with Maya, the external energy. All power is obtained from the Lord, and therefore each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has adopted a submissive attitude. Perfect knowledge means to know the Lord in all his features, to know about his potencies and how such potencies are working by his will. These things are exclusively described by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of all of the Upanishads. Jai.
Jai, thank you. Well, a couple of comments, if you allow me. First, this last part, play the part designed to us. It's so important because servant is somebody that does whatever, the master wants one to do. If you have a servant, the servant cannot say, oh no, I prefer to do this other thing, let me. If you hire somebody to clean your house, that person says, no, actually, I prefer, to cut vegetables, but that's what you don't need at that very moment. So in that sense, this goes also deeper, even related to the swarup of the soul. Sometimes one wants to know, but what will be my position? Am I going to be, I don't know, in my original form? Will I take part of this Madhurya? Will I be a Manjari? Will be a Palyadasi? We even sometimes sing, Palyadasi Kori. But the message is clear. We play whatever the Lord wants us to play. If the Lord wants us to play something in the complete background, beyond whatever is being played by the main characters or actors or associates of the Lord, we're so happy to receive any menial role. Even Lord Shiva wanted to take part in the rasa dance and was not allowed somehow. So we shouldn't be more greedy than what the Lord wants us to be. Meaning that, if we are fine, whatever, cleaning the entrance of the theater where the Lord's going to play, although the doors will be closed and we won't be able to partake of that activity, that service we have to take with gratitude. So, to the point that there's a little story that says how attitude actually makes you deserve whatever can be given. If your attitude is not right, you won't get anything actually. So it's said that once Narada Muni was passing through a village and there was a cobbler there that was, very respectful with Vaishnavas. So the cobbler, when he saw Narada Muni, he bowed down and said, "Oh, great sage, Dandavat pranams." But then he he asked, "Oh, great sage, you're always traveling all over the universes. Where are you going this time?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to the spiritual world. I'm going to see the Lord." "Really?" "Yes, I'll see him." "Well, if you don't mind, when you come back and you tell me what was the Lord doing, you know, and maybe you can ask how many lifetimes will I be in this world still?" "Oh, sure, I can ask that." And then later on, Narada Muni in his way came near a Brahmin that was very proud Brahmin that, studied all the Vedas and all this and that. He knew all the rituals. So he said, "Oh, Narada, you're there." Was not in the same respectful manner as the cobbler was. But, he did the ritual, pranam, namaste, whatever. And then he asked the same questions. But he actually didn't believe much when Narada said, "Oh, I'm going to see the Lord." "Oh, are you really going to see the Lord? Are you?" I said, "Yes." "So ask, how many lifetimes I have and, what's he doing?" So when Narada was reaching the abode of the Lord knew beforehand what was he to ask him. So he said, I know why you came. Now do this." And so he gave instructions to Narada. So in his way back, Narada came first across the Brahmin. And the Brahmin then, asked, what was going on? He said, "Oh, the Lord was passing an elephant through the hole of a needle." "What? Was he doing that, really?" "Yeah, was having fun doing that." Goodness, I don't believe that. Anyway, and what he said about my lifetimes, he said, "Oh, you have as many lives as leaves are in this tree." There was a big tree in front of the house of the Brahmin. He said, "Oh no, but I'm doing so much, I'm doing all the rituals, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, Basically, he was saying it's not fair. Anyway, he was unhappy. But then the cobbler, ran up to the place, so he was also there, and he was curious. And then Narada said, "Oh, the Lord was, passing an elephant through the eye of the needle." And the cobbler said, "Oh, so wonderful. The Lord is so incredible." And Narada said, and "How you accept that? It's so difficult to do that." "Oh, for the Lord, it's not difficult at all. You see this huge banyan tree here? He puts all that banyan tree just within a seed that's microscopic or minuscule or teeny tiniest, or tiny, teeny, whatever. It's so small, and all the banyan tree is there. So why would be difficult for him to pass an elephant through the eye of the needle. So it's just so nice and so fun, excellent. And what about the lifetimes? He said, oh, yes. He said the same things. As many as leaves are in this tree, you have to still be in this world. And then he started jumping. Oh, Hare Krishna, so beautiful. It means that there will be one lifetime where I'll be able to live this. So he was so happy. And while he was dancing in ecstasy, because, you could actually count the leaves, strong wind came and took all the leaves except one in the tree. And Nara said, actually, it's your last lifetime. So, so he was rewarded with this attitude. So mostly devotional service means how you see things, not necessarily what you do, but your attitude towards the Lord and towards the service. So this was my 2 cents comment. Maybe I went over. I see we're late, like almost 10 minutes. Excuse me. Forgive me.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Always interesting. Okay, so mantra 5.
So, but I think it's time, and mantra 5 will be next time, right? Or we can still read.
We can go to 10, 11:30, don't we usually?
Okay. Very good.
Ulambity?
Mantra 5. Tadi jati tanai jati tadure tad vantike tad antar asya sarvasya tad u sarvayasya payataha. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Okay.
Translation, the Supreme, mine is, I think, a different version than some of the others. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away and he is very near as well. He is within everything and yet he is outside of everything. Purport. Here is a description of some of the Supreme Lord's transcendental activities executed by his inconceivable potencies. The contradictions given here prove the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. He walks and he does not walk. Ordinarily, if someone can walk, it is illogical to say that he cannot walk. But in reference to God, such a contradiction simply serves to indicate his inconceivable power. With our limited fund of knowledge, we cannot accommodate such contradictions, and therefore we conceive of the Lord in terms of our limited powers of understanding. For example, the impersonalist philosophers of the Mayavad school accept only the Lord's impersonal activities and reject his personal features. But the members of the Bhagavad school, adopting the perfect conception of the Lord, accept his inconceivable potencies and thus understand that he is both personal and impersonal. The Bhagavatas know that without inconceivable potencies, there can be no meaning to the words Supreme Lord. We should not take it for granted that because we cannot see God with our eyes, the Lord has no personal existence. Sri Isopanisad refutes this argument by declaring that the Lord is far away, but very near also. The abode of the Lord is beyond the material sky, and we have no means to measure even this material sky. If the material sky extends so far, then what to speak of the spiritual sky, which is altogether beyond it? That the spiritual sky is situated far, far away from the material universe is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.6. But despite the Lord's being so far away, he can at once, within less than a second, descend before us with a speed swifter than that of the mind or the wind. He can also run so swiftly that no one can surpass him. This has already been described in the previous mantra. Yet when the personality of Godhead comes before us, we neglect him. Such foolish negligence is condemned by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, where he says that the foolish deride him, considering him a mortal being. He is not a mortal being, nor does he come before us with a body produced of material nature. There are many so called scholars who contend that the Lord descends in a body made of matter, just as an ordinary living being, not knowing his inconceivable power. Such foolish men place the Lord on an equal level with ordinary men. Because he is full of inconceivable potencies, God can accept our service through any sort of medium, and he can convert his different potencies according to his own will. Non believers argue either that the Lord cannot incarnate himself at all, or that if he does, he descends in a form of material energy. These arguments are nullified if we accept the existence of the Lord's inconceivable potencies. Then we will understand that even if the Lord appears before us in the form of material energy, it is quite possible for him to convert this energy into spiritual energy. Since the source of the energies is one and the same, the energies can be utilized according to the will of their source. For example, the Lord can appear in the form of the Archa Vigraha, a deity supposedly made of earth, stone, or wood. Deity forms, although engraved from wood, stone, or other materials, are not idols, as the iconoclasts contend. And I think I'll say, do you want me to stop there so you can make a comment?
Yeah, thank you.
Jay.
Thank you. So this is so important, personal and impersonal, because even ourselves have some things that are personal and some things that are impersonal. For example, let's say, okay, you go and kiss your grandchildren. You cannot put an ad in the newspaper say, whomever wants to kiss my grandchildren is welcome to do so, because that's a very personal activity. So there are things that you cannot delegate. So the Lord himself is so powerful that he can delegate almost everything, but that's almost. There are things he wants to do himself. So that's why bhakti attracts his personal attention. For the rest of the world or the worlds of the universes, his personal presence is not required. If you ask some things from the Lord that any agency can give, he won't do personally. So, in one sense, it's very hard to have his attention to deal personally with you in a way that he cannot do otherwise. But of course, his first appearance in our life is in the shape of the spiritual master. So when we find a bona fide spiritual master, it's like an introduction that we're going to have a personal connection with the Lord. In the meantime, everything will be mostly impersonal. Okay, sing this, do that. But then the Vaishnava is the one that has the ability to create this sambandha, the connection. Because without the connection, there's no way to interact with the Lord. So this sambandha allows us the practice. That's avideya. And then the practice itself will give the fruits or the result of that practice. That's prayojan. That's the goal is prem, the love of Godhead. So this is important. So there is no way that you get personal contact with the Lord if it's not through a devotee of the Lord. And then other thing interesting, once Prabhupada was walking and they were going through a garden, and then he pointed a flower, a rose, and he said, "Is that spiritual or is it material?" And then the devotees were like puzzled, and some would say, "Oh, well, it's material." And somebody said, "This is spiritual." And then Prabhupada said, "Can't be any of those." Because as this verse said, Krishna can make matter into spirit. He can create matter starting with spirit as well. But the main point here is, again, Prabhupada said, depends how you see the rose. If you see, I want that rose for myself, then that's material. But if you think I want that rose for Krishna, then it's spiritual. So he made that example to clarify that. And probably, and finally, sometimes when Krishna adopts this personal connection with the devotee or the devotees, for example, through the Srimad Bhagavatam, you are all familiar with the name of Krishna as Ranchor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Meaning,
Meaning he's scared. He runs away. Coward.
yeah. Why is that? Why they give him that name?
He ran away from the battlefield with that guy that he fought with 17 times.
Oh, actually was
His 18th time, I think.
yeah. So the pastime at the end, he wanted to wake up a devotee called Muchukunda. This Muchukunda was very powerful devotee that was even called by the inhabitants of heaven to help them in battles with the demons. So this Muchukunda was fighting in higher planets, but there's a difference of time. One day of demigods, well, depending which demigod. For example, Lord Brahma, that's the one that lives the longest from our perspective, is 8,600 million years for us. So actually, with the help of Muchukunda, the demigods were able to defeat the demons. And then they offer him a blessing, say, "Would you like some blessing we can give you?" He said, "Yes. I'd like to know how much time of life I have left in the Earth planet when I go back." And then they said, "Oh, actually, your lifetime is mostly past, so will be just a moment." What? Yes, because time here, is so different. So very soon after you arrive, then your time will be over. Oh my God, that's a big problem. So, well, I mixed two stories. I have to ask you forgiveness. This is not the story of Ranchor, what I was to tell you, but this devotee then wanted to take advantage of that moment in Earth. So how? So as soon as he arrived, they said, "Okay, go to pure devotee. He's going to tell you what to do." So quickly, as soon as he arrived, he said, what should I do to conquer death? Because it's coming soon. And I said, oh, you have to study Srimad Bhagavatam. So he took immediately the Bhagavatam and started reading the Bhagavatam. And was just beginning, and then they came to take him because he did also some mischievous acts, and he had some pending matters with Yamaraj. So the servants of Yamaraj came, and then they said, oh, but in this case, if somebody is reading the Bhagavatam, death cannot take him. Say, okay, but we'll be back. They warn him. We're coming back. Okay, yeah, no worries. And then he started studying the Bhagavatam. It was so interesting that at the point he just kept reading, and next time they came, he was still, showing, I'm studying Bhagavatam. So the guy said, oh, okay, we'll come back. So finally, he became so purified that then they didn't come back anymore. The only guys that came back were the Vishnu Dutas, the one to take him to, the spiritual world. So that's the importance of dealing with these transcendental topics. In other occasion, we're going to talk about Ranchor because I mixed the stories. Sorry for that.
Haribol, what was that devotee's name that was reading the Bhagavatam? I missed.
Muchukunda, King Muchukunda.
Oh, Muchukunda. Okay.
Now I'm doubt if his name was Muchukunda because there's one devotee that was woke up and other devotee that was in this story. So I'm confused about the name. We should double check that.
Okay.
But I can double check
because
that.
Muchukunda is the one where he got the Ranchor name.
No, I don't think so. The Ranchor name is when Krishna and Balaram were battling that demon 17 times. They defeated all the demons and let him live.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Jarasandha.
And then on the 18th time, he ran away for some reason. And then they burned the mountain to make sure that Krishna and Balaram really died.
Yeah, no, Muchukunda is the one that actually killed Kalayavana.
In the cave, right?
In the cave. So Kalayavana was going after Krishna. And that's why it took the name of Ranchor. So Jarasandha is a different story.
But but he ran away, so he was called Ranchor, wasn't he?
Yeah, because of Kalayavana, not of Jarasandha.
No, I thought it was from them. Okay.
Yeah. So Kalayavana was running after Krishna, but Krishna, when he wants to walk fast, he walked very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came into this cave where, Muchukunda was sleeping. He had a blessing because he was so tired that nobody could wake him up. And if somebody woke him up, he would, burn to ashes that person. So that's the way it happened. So this Krishna actually got inside the cave, and when the guy came, Kalayavana came, he saw a body there. It was dark, laying in the ground. I thought, oh, this must be Krishna. So he kicked him. In that way, then he woke up and, burned him to ashes just by looking at him.
But why would Krishna be called Ranchor because of that?
Yeah, because Kalayavana was saying, "Hey, stop! We're going to fight. We're going to fight," and just Krishna was just walking away.
Was he tricked him? Okay.
Yeah, he tricked. Krishna is terrible for tricking. So he actually wanted to be Muchukunda who to kill him. It was not a personal activity. He wanted to please Muchukunda. But at the same time, the ones that are demons or the ones that are not favorable take opportunity to criticize Krishna. So they say, oh, he's Ranchor, he escaped, he didn't want to fight himself, Kalayavana. Okay. So now this time we're coming to the time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Happy
Dhanyavad.
birthday. What
Thank
an
you.
auspicious birthday.
Really.
Yeah, this time was a good
Mangal,
time.
Mangalam Bhavatu, Nishta Bhavatu,
Jai.
Krishna Bhakti Bhavatu, Radha Dasyam Bhavatu. Lots of flowers.
Thank you so much. Dandavad. Hare Krishna.
What,
Radhe
yeah,
Sham, Radhe
yeah.
Sham.
Jai Shri Radha. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
See you Monday.
Hare Bo.
Hare Bol.